I used to be an entertainment anchor, and the reason you don't recognize me is because I don't think anybody watched my show. I used to think I was doing something great because we were working quite hard. Like journalists in the time that I was an entertainment journalist, firstly we asked nice questions. We were nicer to the stars. But more importantly, we used to slog. I mean, we used to work from 10 in the morning till 2 in the night and just like, you know, go over to friends' houses and sleep and then come back and do lives and OBs. So I'm from that generation of journalists that used to work hard. No offense, other journalists, I'm sure you work hard. But now when I see celebrities and press conferences, I hear the questions and I'm like, no. So anyways, that's a bit of an intro to me. Spot boys for fan now. I'm not looking at the camera, am I?
You're looking at it.
Okay, now I am. When I was a journalist, you know, there was a lot of passion in journalism. So one day, my producer Rukmini Sen, she took me on a shoot, and she assigned me on a shoot, and we went to a party, and I was told, okay, you have to cover. So the show I used to anchor was a show called Raat Ki Baat. So anyways, that night, now this is one of my famous stories. I'm going to tell you because, I don't know, I feel like immortalizing it on YouTube. So that night it was one of my first stories, and I went with my cameraman, and Rukmini and Manish Dubey, who were my bosses, they used to always tell me, you know, Sangeeta, you should, you know, do something interesting and funny. And so I was like, I was always on my toes to do something funny. So the invitation for the party was a hanger. So I said, Ghabraiye nahi, ye hanger nahi, invitation hai. And I still have that hanger lying somewhere because I remember that. And the cameraman was like, what is she doing? And then I went around the party and I was like, party ke baare mein bataiye, party fashion ke baare mein bataiye, party ke baare mein bataiye. And everyone was like socialites, and they were just like dancing, and they were like, who is this? And so finally, you know, I kept asking people in the party, and then the police raided. And this is a Bombay police raid. So, you know, you can imagine everyone was running all over, and I was like, oh, I work in Aaj Tak, so I have to do something. I went running after him, and I said, Bhaiya, Bhaiya, Bhaiya. And the cameraman was like, what is going on with this girl? But he, being a really diligent cameraman, said, oh, she must have a scoop. So I went running, and you would think I would say something intelligent like, you know, why is this raid, or like, what is the responsibility of the government, or whatever. But I said, Bhaiya, fashion ke baare mein bataiye. I mean, for those who are in Bombay, you know that there's an unsaid rule that you do not call cops Bhaiya. Okay, I mean, forget that. You don't call anybody Bhaiya. Like once I told a cab, Bhaiya kitna hua, and he said, Bhaiya mot bulao. And I think my producer just was like, huh? And then the cop said, Kai paije. And then I thought, okay, so the cop gave me a reaction. I didn't even listen to him. And I turned around and I told the cameraman, party to mazidar thi, aur fir police aa gayi. Sangeeta Kumar, Mumbai, Aaj Tak. So I was a TV anchor for many years, and I worked with Aaj Tak and Headlines Today. But the way I got my job was a really funny story. I was a reporter for Filmfare, and I was working, and I was, you know, interacting with film stars. And the Manish Dubey saw me on a boat, and he was like, why don't you come? We just started talking, and he said, why don't you come on board and come for an interview and all. So I said, cool, English anchor, so no problem, I know English. And then, so I went into the interview, and then Shishir Joshi, who was the bureau chief at that time, he was interviewing me, you know, formality and all. So he sat down and he was like, so can you like write a script? And I was like, of course I can write a script. Now, I had just graduated, you know, like, I mean, I had graduated 2 years ago, but like English from St. Xavier's College. So you know, I thought, of course, how hard is it to write a script? So I wrote like 3 pages of a script. And then Shishir very sweetly saw he's like, yeah, actually a new script is supposed to be like 6 lines. And I was like, oh. So then he said, oh, you know, like, how are you Hindi? So every time I used to speak in Hindi, people started laughing. So I said, my Hindi is really good, but I don't know why people laugh. So he said, really? So he said, say something. So I said, मैं हिंदी बोलती हूँ. So he was like, yeah, it seems okay. He was smiling and smirking. So according to me, I spoke Hindi. So he said, why don't you come tomorrow and you do like a, like in news it used to be called a PTC, like a piece to camera. A little like what I'm doing right now. It's a little like stand-up, but you're kind of talking to the camera. So he said, prepare an English PTC and prepare a Hindi PTC. And I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, later on I learned words like takriban and all that. But while I was auditioning, I was like, I don't know what to say. So I prepared, like I used to wear a lot of rings. So I was, I was like, oh, I got this ring here, I got this ring here and stuff. So then it was time for Hindi and I was very hungry. It was lunchtime. So I remember, I think Rajendra was a cameraman who was shooting. And then I said, "Aap lunch ke liye kya khayenge?" And because it was Hindi, I could say the names of all the food items I knew: pav bhaji, vada pav, pizza, dosa, vada. And I was just listing out a menu, and it sounded like a waiter. And then slowly, all the artists, the cameramen started coming. And everybody was laughing behind the camera, and thank God Rajendra is such a professional that he didn't laugh, but he really wanted to, I'm pretty sure. So that was the way I joined news, and that was the way I became a reporter and an anchor. And I started anchoring. I was coming on TV. I had a show. I mean, it wasn't my show, like it wasn't Raat Ki Baat with Sangeeta, but yeah, definitely I was the only person doing that show. So I was doing a show in the morning, and so I don't know why, I assumed that everyone who like if I come on TV, then everyone will watch me. So I started waiting for people to recognize me, and nobody was, and I'd be like, hello. So one day one girl came up to me and she's like, I've seen you before. And I was beaming, I was so excited, I was like, yes. And of course with full on attitude I said, must be you've seen me on TV. And she was like, no, you take the 7:30 local, not from Kandivali. And I was like, yes. So years went by, and I was on TV for like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Nobody recognized me. And then finally I moved to Delhi, and I thought, chal, at least in Delhi, like Delhi, people think celebrities are also cool. So chal, even in Delhi they would recognize me. But lo and behold, even in Delhi, I would finish my show and I would come to the metro, full makeup and costume, once or twice when I was feeling like I needed some attention. I would be on TV and nobody would care. They would just be like looking and like, oh, like that. So basically TV anchors, I don't know, for those who got recognized, good for you, but I would call myself an unrecognized anchor. So when I first became a TV anchor and I was doing a show and all, I went on a holiday and I went to Jaipur with my dad, and we went and we were staying at my grandmother's house, and at that time people didn't really know like television news and stuff. So my dad, of course, was, he's a filmmaker, so he's very proud my daughter's on TV. So he was telling, like you have friends in small towns, you have friends coming over to have afternoon tea. So one little girl, I think Sweetie, I don't know what her name was, she came with her mother. And I was also sitting and I was beaming like, I'm a celebrity, which I wasn't, but whatever. And my father, of course, being my father, he's showing off and he's like, "Meri beti to news mein aati hai." And they were like, oh. And, nobody said anything. Nobody was like, wow. For many, many years, nobody said much. But anyways, that moment they were like, oh, good for her. And then after a few seconds, they said, "Are Sweetie ne beautician ka course kiya hai?" And suddenly everyone was like, wow! And that is when I went from here to right down here, when I realized in India, if you're an anchor, it doesn't really matter. But if you've done a beautician course, that's something. So anyways, my career as an anchor went, and then YouTube came, and now I'm back doing LOL and stand-up. And I don't know if you found that funny, but if you did, subscribe and or like or share or dislike. I have realized that like or dislike just means engagement. So great. Dislike, hate me, no problem, I love it. So I'm going to be coming weekly. I'm going to give you shows and blogs and talk about funny things that I've noticed, and yeah. So welcome back to the all new LOL night. Spot boys, fan lao. I'm not looking at the camera, am I?
You're looking at it.
Okay, now I am.